Good day, everyone, and welcome to a connecting conversation with Family Fuse, where we connect with members of the community to gain insight on how to build a better future for all. I'm Jaydlin Spooner, and today we are talking with Kurt Downs from Border City Athletics. Good morning, Kurt, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. We're super excited to have you on and hear more about your organization. So just to start us off, can you tell me a bit about Border City Athletics, how it came to be, what your mission is, and what kind of services you provide?
Sure. Border City was established in 2013. It was a little bit of a brain trust or a brainchild of mine. I had been around and traveled and seen a couple different track clubs that were started, and had been in some that had been in existence in quite a long time. And my thought process was I wanted to do things a little bit differently than they had been done in our area. First and foremost, and then also I wanted to build something that was community-based, that had certain strategic goals, other than just servicing the community, trying to help kids with education and infrastructure, moving them along in the sense of giving them opportunities for, jobs in the community, et cetera, et cetera. What we did is we started the club. We started very small at around, I think, 3 athletes at the time. We're up to about 150 in membership for the whole year. And, we've been incredibly fortunate with the group of athletes that we've had, coaches that we've had, and actually even some of the success that we've been able to have in the last 7 years, going on 8 years now as well. So that's a little bit of the background of the club, yeah.
Awesome. So what was your official role in the organization? Are you a coach? Are you the owner? Are you all of them?
I'm kind of a little bit of everything. I'm the head coach and the president of the club. I'm very fortunate to have some really awesome administrators and a really great board that's comprised of some other coaches, some community members, some business people in the community as well. I would say I'm kind of the utility person. I do a little bit of everything. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what is the relationship like with the athletes who are represented by Border City Athletics? Can you kind of walk me through what it's like to be an athlete?
Yeah. So one of our focuses is basically to develop kids, right, athletes, and further their aspirations for success. We have a lot of ways that we try to do that through academics, overcoming some personal obstacles, mentoring them. So what we try to do with the athletes are, as they come into the club, we try to provide certain things for them. One of the things we do is we have gifting. So what we do is if kids don't have an opportunity to have certain things, for instance, they may not have shoes, they may not have clothing, et cetera, for sports specific things. We try to be in a situation to provide some of those things for them if possible. Through either our own budgeting or through some strategic partnerships, we try to provide those things for them as well. Further to that, what we try to do is we have what we call a summit series. So through our summit series, what we try to do is provide, again, strategic items that, uplift the kids or pour into their lives and their situations. So for instance, if nutrition is one of the things that's an obstacle for them, what we try to do is provide nutritional guidance or people from the community or outside communities that we can bring in, specialists that can talk to them about nutrition. If education is an issue, we have tutors that we're aligned with. We have other teachers in the public and the Catholic and the private school board that can provide that sort of guidance for the students. In addition to that, we also, look at other things. For instance, if students don't know going into high school what streams they want to go into or what programs or academic direction they want to go in, sometimes there's opportunities to provide them with guidance that way, or even just let them know what's necessary through some of our Summit Series workshops what they would need in order to get access to going to college in Canada, or an apprenticeship program, or even if they were looking towards getting an academic or athletic scholarship in Canada or in the States. So we have workshops that we provide kids on those as well. And further to that, we have other, things as well. We even provide some opportunities for strength and conditioning, for outreach. If we have programs where we do certain things in the community as well with those student athletes. So if they're looking to volunteer, or they're looking for an opportunity to get an apprenticeship or something, we also have quite a few ties in the community where we're able to connect them with certain people for those opportunities as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. You definitely hit on a couple of common interests there with Family Fuse in regards
Yeah.
to the education system and families. So kind of moving forward with that, on your website, I noticed that you have a great quote which reads that the athlete is always the apex of the pyramid, and the
Yeah.
role of the parent and coach is to provide scaffolding and support, which I
Yeah.
completely agree. And Family Fuse works with parents. So what kind of effect can a parent have with a child's relationship with sports, both negatively and positively?
Well, that's actually a really good question. First of all, just a question, and I'll kind of give you what we do in order to sort of help that or aid in that situation. Parents can have an incredibly positive, relationship with their child, and it can facilitate their child in order to become, a better athlete, a better student, a better person. And in doing that, it could be as simple as making sure that the student athlete arrives on time, making sure that they arrive with what they need, doing things to, reinforce their positive mentality for them, that it's okay to succeed, it's okay to fail. All those different things are positive things that parents can do. Conversely, there are a lot of negative things parents can do also. Putting pressure on, adverse pressure on their children, being overbearing, being helicopter parents, picking up after them, not allowing them to gain their own self-sufficiency when it comes to managing themselves on a day of a track meet, or managing themselves with what they need in order to be successful, in a practice session even. And one of the things that we do to sort of help with that is our summit series again. We have a sports psychologist, from the university, and what they do is they come in, they talk to the parent and the athlete together. And what we try to do is set up skills, traits, trends that the athlete can do and act and follow on a trajectory that will help them to be more successful. So, and I'm sorry, I think I'm going to move this way so the
No
light
problem.
will be maybe a little bit more consistent. Some of the things we do are just those summit series forums. And what ends up happening is we always encourage the parent and the athlete to come together, because obviously they're working in that relationship together outside of what we do. And it's always good for the parent to hear those types of messages at the same time as the athlete. Because what happens a lot of times is, if the parent hears one message or hears a message that doesn't necessarily relate to the student, or the student athlete, and if the athlete hears something that resonates with them, that doesn't always equate to what the parent is hearing or wants to hear. So a lot of times when we put them together in that venue or that forum, what happens is for instance, Dr. Crystal Chandler at the University of Windsor, what she will do is she'll bring them together and she'll specifically address feelings that the student athlete would have. Then specifically address, a message that the parents would have, and in getting their child to eat on time, or getting them to eat at all, or those sorts of things. So I think you're right. It is important to identify both the parent and the athlete, but also to bring them together. And to have those discussions together with them. So those are some of the things that we would do.
Yeah, I can see that side of it. I grew up playing hockey, and
Yeah.
I can tell you there are some parents that kind of do the helicopter parenting, and
Yeah.
they don't let their kids fight their own battles. And I think it's definitely a sweet spot of support that you can give
Mhm.
your child, but kind of moving on with children in sports, how
Yeah.
important do you think it is for children to have a hobby, be it in the arts or in athletics, and building character and life skills?
Huge, huge. We always encourage the athletes to be multifaceted. A lot of times, almost to a detriment, we try to force the kids to do other things. Like for instance, we have kids that are involved in dance, in ballet, in tap, jazz, all those different types of activities. We also have kids that are involved in music, piano, and they'll miss time, and in our grouping here, we never penalize the kids for missing out on an opportunity because they have something else. What we try to do is set our schedule early enough that if there is something that's on the table, that they know that maybe that's a spot held for our weekend. And then if there's other things that they can filter in through in between, or that are priorities, allow them to do it. Me being a teacher, at the same time, I also often push that envelope or that agenda, that hey, maybe you're spending too much time here, and maybe you need something else to take your mind away from it, or to do something else. But also in saying that, there's sometimes that kids are spread too thin and are doing too many things. And in that case, I may say to them, you need to pick three, or you need to pick two or three, because you're at the point now in grade 12 or grade 11 where you're going to have to focus a little bit more on these three things, as opposed to doing 12 of them. you know and maybe track is not one of those on the club level for you. Maybe it's something you just want to do in high school, and you do want to spend time on those nights playing music, and I'm okay with that. But just know that that's the direction that you want to go in, and proceed accordingly with it.
Right, for sure. And kind of in line with Family Fuse's values and mission, we've heard stories of Black parents where their children are being discouraged by microaggressions from teachers in the
Oh
education
yeah.
system, like
Yeah.
streaming and just having feelings of general
Yeah.
like self-doubt and that kind of stuff. But how can
Yeah.
a hobby and interest like track or field, or just any hobby in general, work to help these
Yeah.
kids? Because I think
Oh,
there's
huge.
a sorry, I
No, no,
interrupted you. Go ahead.
no, sorry, you go ahead. You go
Oh
ahead.
no, I'm just saying that I think that sports, from my own experience and being around in the sports community, it builds so much confidence in you and your
Yeah.
own abilities. So can you tell me a little bit about that and how that can help children in these
Yeah.
situations?
Yeah, no, I think that you hit it right on the nail there. Like I got a phone call this morning on the way into work, and it's from a longtime football coach here, very well-respected coach, Coach Harry Lumley at Herman. And we always talk about different types of kids and how we can help them and what we can do for them. And, he said, I have a young student at the school. He said, I can't go in there right now because of COVID and that sort of stuff, but the coaches there and the teachers are still in touch with him. And they sent him a message and said, hey, there's a kid here. He has a he has really, really poor self-esteem. He has a really negative view of himself, image of himself. And, he's like, I really think track can help him. He's like, would you have a spot for him? And I was like, Coach Lumley, of course we would. Absolutely. He said, that's one of the reasons why I started this club, so that we can absolutely benefit and try to help those kinds of kids as well. I look at myself. Growing up, I was very tall, incredibly skinny. People automatically thought I was a very good athlete, and I didn't have a ton of confidence at different points in time. And I looked to one of my elementary school teachers, Mrs. Sullivan, one of my high school teachers, Mr. John, as well, and how they provided the environment for me, or the forum, the avenue for me to be involved in sport and to continue being involved in sport. And I remember it was Mr. John specifically that said to me, you got to stand up straight. Like, you're 6'2". Like, stop slouching. He's like, he's like, what I would kill for a body that tall with those long legs and that sort of stuff right now, for you to be able to compete in sport. And I hadn't thought of it that way. I always thought, man, I'm too skinny. Everybody tells me I'm, too skinny. I need to put on weight and all these different things. And I never thought of it as, well, this is a gift. Maybe I should be, incredibly proud of that and use it to my advantage. So, I think that oftentimes sport gives you a secondary voice, a voice that's not mom, that's not dad or an aunt or an uncle or grandparent that's possibly raising you. At the same time, what it often does for young Black kids, me included, or racialized kids in general, what it does is it provides a safe haven, a place for them to go and to be where they can be themselves. But at the same time, gain some skills and some tools that they can use in the classroom, outside of the classroom, in the working world, in the business world, wherever, where they have confidence, and that confidence can extend, through those skills outside of it. So yeah, I definitely do think that sport is huge. I think that the venue of sport is huge, and I think that especially for that group of students and young kids that you're talking about, it gives them a sense of being and a sense of belonging that they might not otherwise have in some other places.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. I agree 100%. And just kind of moving into a different direction here, it also says on your website that you're partnered with Girls Can. So how
Yeah.
have you seen kind of the women's side of sports change as more recognition and funding has been given to them? And what do you think should be done in effort of marketing women's sports?
Yeah. So cool thing. I was involved with um, a few key females in my life that helped. Obviously, my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, who helped raise me, and then when Mrs. Sullivan, when I was in elementary school, was a big sort of motivating factor for me. Still is. When I talk to her every few weeks, and when I went to university and started my master's, I was very fortunate. I had Vicky Crowley is the head coach at University of Western Ontario, and she took me on as a master's graduate student to do my master's there. And from there, I had seen that I had a lot of girl athletes, female athletes that they just kind of dropped out of the sport. They just disappeared, and they were like, when I say phenomenally talented, and I was like, this just doesn't make sense. I'm like, in the perspective of Canadian female track and field, we should have had so many medalists and different things, and these girls just come and disappear. Like, what's the reason? So that became a little bit of a focus of mine, and I was super fortunate because I was able to go away and do some of my master's research with some amazing female coaches, head coaches, associate coaches down in the States. And that's kind of where this Girls Can program came about, that we started to run, myself and Dr. Marcia Milne here. And we were both always talked about being passionate about being able to provide opportunities for young girls, and as well being able to provide a place where their parents can tap into a bunch of resources that they might not have been able to tap into. So that's kind of how we started the Girls Can program. And it was really awesome because, as you talk about the transition to how women's sport has moved, we kind of think we moved with that transition in starting our Women's Can program and bringing in mentors, bringing in, elite coaches, bringing in, Dr. Margot Mountjoy and Jen Saigo, who are like, massive people in the world of sports nutrition, bringing in a Perdita Felicien, who's, a world medalist, and a Nia Ali, who's and Melissa Bishop, who are all world medalists. Being able to do things like that, I think, are the shift in women's sport now. There are so many talented medalists that are willing to speak up and also empower other females, and at the same time educate males too. I look at myself as one of those people that can sit down and have discussions with them, and they can tell me, hey, this is what you see when you see this type of girl come through your program, and this is how you may want to treat it. And I'm like, oh, wow. Well, I never thought about that. I've been struggling with trying to progress this girl through this programming, and now I'm going to this female and asking her, for that specific help and direction. So I think that that's part of it. Now males aren't as afraid, or they're not as much into their egos or their heads where they are ashamed to go and ask a lead female for advice or help. I think that's a huge shift. As far as the marketing and the promotion of women's sport, I think that, and one of the things I did with my classroom this year, we talked about gender role, gender discrimination. And, we were showing videos of the NBA players advocating for the WNBA players and saying that, this is good basketball, you should watch this game. I think that again, in any different fight that you're in, whether it's a fight for gender or race or anything else, you always need allies. And I think that, males can be good allies for females in this battle towards getting them more recognition and leveling the playing field. The same way as, you need all different other races, whether it's Asian, Caucasian, white, whatever, to be able to advocate for, blacks, in their fight for, race and leveling some of the systemic racism barriers. So I think that when you have those allies, I think that that's the key piece in possibly helping to, move things forward in a progressive and positive way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think allyship and community definitely have a big effect. And I know for me personally, I've always been a huge fan of sports, as I've mentioned a couple times during this interview.
Yeah.
But like, it doesn't matter what sport, I can always kind of get into it, whether it's football,
Mm-hmm.
basketball, hockey, even baseball sometimes.
Yeah.
But I kind of have always been just really in love with how it can bring a community together no matter what. Like, just kind of going off on a tangent a little bit, but I remember I was in Vancouver. I'm from Vancouver Island, but I was in
Okay.
Vancouver
Yeah.
for the 2010 Olympics. So I was like 10
Yeah.
years old. And I just remember when they won. I'm not sure if you remember when Team
Yeah.
Canada scored that gold medal goal.
Yeah.
And I was in the streets of Vancouver, and it was just like everyone, like, it doesn't matter who you were, every race, every gender was just like high-fiving in the streets. Like, it didn't matter who you were at that moment. It brought everyone together. So just like, how do you see that relationship between sports and community kind of as a
Yeah.
whole?
I think that it's the ultimate synergy.
Mhm.
It is, because you're essentially getting the best of all of community, all of humanity, when you have an opportunity to bring sport together sport together with community, and at the same time, excuse me, what you're doing is there's a platform, because as you've seen, sport is something that can be sort of harmonizing. You see NBA players, NFL players, etc., baseball, whoever it is, speaking out against this or speaking out against that. And I think that it has an effect of bringing people together as opposed to being something that's divisive and separating people. The same way as I always look at sport as the ultimate uniter, in that, like I said, if you're a Lakers fan, you're a Lakers fan. If you're a Raptors fan, you're a Raptors fan. Being in love with a team or sport per se has no barrier. You can be absolutely poor and have no money in the streets of Spain and be a Barcelona FC fan. I can be a Barcelona FC fan, FC Barcelona fan here, and still have the same love for the sport and the players on the team that the kid that's playing in no shoes, in a rural place in Spain has. So there is the fact that sport is a unifier. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what your stance is on any political views or social views. If you love the sport, you love the sport, and that's the language that most people will speak. So I agree with you. I do think it's that unifier, 100%.
Yeah. Just kind of adding on to that, we do know that there also are a bunch of diversity initiatives that need to happen in sport itself. Not taking away from that at all. This is just kind of
100%.
just how sport, everything's a double-sided coin at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
There's always more
Yeah.
work that needs to be done, but at the end of the day, sport can be such a beautiful thing when everyone just joins together. And in wrapping up our talk, what are kind of the next steps for your organization? And do you have any events upcoming in the summer, even with COVID-19 restrictions?
Yeah. So thank you for asking that. We definitely, there are a lot of initiatives we have. We have a pretty progressive board that we have here with a lot of good ideas. Moving forward for us, we're definitely planning another Women's Can and Girls Can event. We're definitely looking towards being involved with some more grant programs that we've applied for. In addition to that, we are looking at running some programs in the summer, even with COVID. They may be reduced in the space specifically, but our spring foundations program is still planning on being run once we're out of this immediate lockdown here. It'll just be reduced in the numbers in the sense of same days, but we won't maybe not have 2 hours of practice. It may only be 60-minute blocks of time. And then we are planning for, world relays, Olympic trials, Olympic championships, Olympic games as well. And then further to that, in the fall, there's a couple other initiatives I can't speak on 100% yet that we're working on, but there definitely is more in the city that we're trying to do, both from a community standpoint, racialized and inclusivity standpoint, and like I said, there's just a few others. I don't want to let all of them out just yet, but yeah, we definitely are, and we're definitely looking to keep partnering with groups like Family Fuse, and some others in the city where we can provide some resources for and opportunities for kids. So that's definitely on our mandate as well.
Awesome. So a lot of big things in store, and I
Yeah,
can't wait to see how everything pans out for your organization. And I just want to say a big thank you to you for coming on and speaking with me today. I appreciate everything you shared with me and telling us all about Border City Athletics. So thank you.
yeah.
Um, and for everyone listening, you can find more info about Border City Athletics on their website at www.bordercityac.com, where you can check out all their information on Girls Can, grant programs, and check for updates, as Kurt was talking about. So thank you, Kurt, and have a great day.
Thank you a lot, Jaydlin. I appreciate it.
No problem.